Hey everyone, Frisch perspective here with the Layman Apologist, coming at you with some fun discussion, interesting discussion today, and uh, I don't know why I'm not seeing my comments. I'm quite sure we've got people here and they're probably commenting, but I don't know if this is a glitch in my software. I don't see anything yet, or maybe
Uh,
everybody's just real quiet right now.
could be, could be.
Yeah,
Last time I was on streaming, my comments didn't appear for a while. They were delayed.
I just saw Hope Family there.
Hey, brother.
Saying party time. Good to see you, Hope family. Good to see Orthodox Philip. He's asking how you're doing, Layman.
Surviving, waiting on
Surviving.
blood tests. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah. We were before we went live here. We were just talking about the weather in our respective countries, and it's hot in both of our areas. At least hot for us. Like I'm in New England, so it's not as hot as some places. But
yeah.
what we're also dealing with here, I tried to open my window to let a nice breeze in, and we've got Canadian wildfire smoke covering our skies, and it immediately made me start sneezing and having allergies. So, um, any Canadians out there? Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for sending your smoke. uh, oh,
Blame
New
the Canadians.
Mexico. I gotta say, hey there. This is a new location from what I remember. I don't know if I've seen New Mexico before, but good to see you there for New Mexico.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Hope saying that the smoke has gone through Chicago. I think is what he's saying there. Yeah,
No,
I hope
no,
it
no.
does. No.
he's referring to a package he sent me.
Oh, processed. Got it.
Don't worry. I'm all over the tracking. He didn't need to update me.
Okay. Yeah, and we got Alan in St. Louis. Good to see you there in St. Louis. And yeah, we got Tony over in England.
Hmm.
He says he's watching the World Cup semifinals. Oh, okay. Yeah, I lost track of that. I lost track of that again. What's going on currently? Do you know, Layman?
Not a football
No,
fan. I know
no.
England's playing someone, but no clue.
Well, Tony, if you can break away just for a second, tell us who's playing who. All right, so that's good of you to give us both temperature readings there, Philip, so that Layman knows what you're talking about. 38.3 degrees.
We were
Ooh.
we were our highest was 34 earlier, so we weren't too far behind them.
Yeah, that's bad though. You know how it is. Once you get up
Well,
to that, it starts getting worse and worse.
well,
Yeah.
like I said off camera, like or over here, UK, Ireland, we rarely leave single digit temperatures. So for us, anything even hitting near 20s is just becomes torture.
And you guys aren't allowed to have air conditioning.
No, we are.
I want everyone to hear this because
But
we always hear
they're
over
not hearing
here.
it from me. I didn't bring it up.
We keep hearing over here like they're not allowed to have air conditioning over there. So
Yeah,
give us the scoop. What's actually the situation there about air conditioning?
it's just like Northern Ireland. There's nothing at all about not being allowed. It's just there wouldn't be enough days in the year where we would actually get use out of it to warrant it. Plus, it wouldn't just be banging the unit; like it would actually have to be mounted. Part of your wall would be taken out; it would have to be fitted in. It's way too much money for what the amount of days out of the year we would use it because you'd be using it less than a month out of the year,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
wouldn't work. England and a few other places in the mainland, they're different. It's not that they're not allowed it; it's just the government makes it so unfeasible for them to get one that it, they just basically kind of mean that the government just makes it so unfeasible that they might as well not be allowed it because they'll be
yeah,
taxed madly for it. And again, they're in a similar case. Like they get a lot more sunshine than we do throughout the year, but still not a lot. So again, you'd be paying for an AC unit that you use what maybe 2 months out of the year. Like it's not worth it.
That's what Tony's saying too. Just not worth having for a couple days.
Yeah.
Hope, by the way, said that it's 100. It was 104 in Michigan, which is interesting because then Joel was saying it's only 85 in West Tennessee, which is unseasonably cool for them. Yeah, I will say it's funny. Up where we live, some of you will find this humorous. If it's like going to be in the 90s, they'll be calling for like a heat advisory and telling people be really careful about going outside. There is a logic to that though, and I think you would totally get this, Layman. Like if your body is not acclimated to something, then that's just how it is. You know, it's like for a New Englander to go out in 100-degree weather would just be hard on their body.
We get similar warnings, but it's because the people are ignorant, and I mean that in like the truest sense of the word ignorant. Like we don't get these warm temperatures throughout the year, so like people will still go on ahead and do their regular workouts as
That's
if
right.
like it's the normal time of year, not
Exactly.
realizing what their workout's going to do to them in that heat. So while they might
That's
get through
true.
their workout normally, it's the after where we've had people like literally. There's been people like people might laugh at this, but there has been so many cases, not just this year but previous years too. During these, we call them heat waves, and everybody laughs because they're like, "Oh, it's not a heat wave," but to us, it is. It is a heat wave because we don't regularly get it. But
Yeah.
we end up getting people actually hospitalized over it because, like as I say, they will go on about their daily business as if it's normal, not taking in what the heat will do to them, dehydrate them, all that. And then that's the other case of it too is people don't hydrate like they should during hot weather. They hydrate how they
That's right.
do during like the colder weather. But the other main reasons we get it for, like we get, the way now like phones even give you weather warnings and stuff.
Yeah.
We would get them for the elderly, the young, and even dogs. So like you'll get updates to be like, don't walk
Mhm.
your dog in that weather and stuff. Because like again, it sounds stupid, but we wear shoes. So like when we step out in the concrete, we don't feel how warm the ground actually is. But
That's
then
right.
there's been cases of like dogs and cats having their
Mm.
paw pads burned and all
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Exactly. That it reminds me of the opposite. Like if you come from a warm climate, you may not be aware of what the cold can do.
mhm.
You know, if you've never been through it, you know, really cold weather, like I'm using Fahrenheit here, but 0 degrees Fahrenheit, uh, that's well below freezing,
Yeah,
and that is much different than just being at freezing.
yeah,
And then when you get below zero, I mean, you just have got to cover your skin. You've got to be so careful.
yeah.
Um,
Plus, you
and
don't you don't even.
my dad was originally from Florida, and he did not know what snow actually felt like. And the first time he did it, I think he was really shocked.
Mhm.
You know, just like, wow, snow is really cold actually.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, it doesn't even have to be those extreme temperatures. Like, it was a couple of years ago now, we had a couple of Americans over, and there was one guy in particular. He was, no matter where we went, he wore a t-shirt, shorts, and like sandals. That was it. Northern Ireland is a country that constantly gets rain, like minus these days because there's the heat wave, but like constantly got rain. We kept telling him, like, dude, you need to cover up. You're going to catch like your death. Like we use the phrase "catch a death of cold." We don't mean you're literally going to die. It's just a phrase we use. Um, and he was like, "Oh no, it's fine. Like it's nice. I never get the rain, all that sort of stuff." And it was like 2 3 days in the rest of his stay, he was bedridden. Not bedridden as in like couldn't move, but like cold, couldn't enjoy the rest of his trip because he had sniffles, he had everything. We tried to warn him, but he was so almost enamored with the rain that it was just kind of like, oh no, this is great. Like it's like a light breeze, and we were like, dude, you're going to get so sick.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, just depending on the climate you're used to. So I was going to show people. I'm kind of finishing up some coffee, and I got
Wait,
this
what's
from
the mug?
my. So the mug is actually a local inn in where I live. It's called the
Yeah.
Common Man Inn. Yeah, and then the coffee is from a roaster. It says New Hampshire, but it's not because it's roasted in New Hampshire. It's because it's referring to the New Hampshire Confession, which is their light roast. And they kind of graded their coffee according to like the depth of the confession. So like I think the darkest roast is the London Baptist Confession. So it's actually like Reformed Baptists that created this. Yeah, I know. You're like, that shouldn't be the dark roast.
No,
but
definitely
it
not.
says on, yeah. It says drip your coffee, not your babies. So if I haven't already offended you, Layman.
Not offended, just clearly wrong.
I've offended a few others in the audience
But
as well.
speaking of branding, your new merch got approved, so it should be up this week.
Yay! Oh, and we'll talk about that later. But I just saw too that England is up 1-0 against the Argies. I don't know what that means though.
Argentina.
Thank you. I need all kinds of interpretation when it comes to these expressions I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tony said he's quiet, but he's still keeping us informed. He's still
He'll update every now
popping
and again,
in.
but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So my first topic here is not anything real heavy, although maybe this could. You never know. This could spark debate because I am going to be bringing up something that people do argue about in the United States, and this is about the time that we're on right now. We're on daylight savings time, and some of you are probably seeing the news reports about this, that the House passed a bill to ditch the switch and make daylight saving time permanent. So I'm pretty sure like a lot of people that are watching, they're used to daylight saving time for part of the year, even over there where you are. But what they're doing, or what they're attempting to do, is to try to make daylight saving time permanent so that the time we're on, which is usually like more of the warmer months, is now going to be the same time for the whole year. And it sounds good because a lot of people do want the time to not change. But the challenge is always figuring out, do you stay on daylight saving or do you stay on standard time? Because depending on the time of year, it can make the daylight a little wonky. So like with daylight saving time, in the winter here where I live, sunrise during part of the year is going to be well after 8 o'clock in the morning. So kids will, be trying to get to their school bus stops, young kids even, in the middle of winter, and it's still going to be dark. So things like that can really become an issue when you try to make the time permanent. But then again, if you keep it as standard time, there are times a year where our sunrise would start at like near 4 o'clock in the morning, and it gets light even before sunrise. So then you have like these really, really early sunrises. So I'll show you guys a graphic though. This is what it'll look like at January 15th. So yeah, feel free to chime in from all your different states. It doesn't really matter as much if you're down south, because, and I think you can see it on the graphic, if you're in Miami, Florida, even in the middle of winter, your sunrise is at 8:09, that's actually still pretty late.
Yeah.
But your sun sets at 6:15. We're going to have sunrise at 8:10 and still going to have a pretty early sunset. So it's a very debated topic actually.
Yeah, well, Sam says permanent DST is such a mistake. Hope Family Bindery says just split it in half.
That's what I think. Split it in half. People still won't be happy when you do the initial decision, but at least you're going to be splitting the difference, and you're not going to have one extreme or the other in the winter and summer. And that's right. I'm also seeing here, yeah, some states, it might be Arizona.
They have weird
Someone
times
who's
anyway.
over in New Mexico, you can tell us about if it's Arizona, maybe, that doesn't have any change. They don't have time change.
That's what I'm saying. They have their own like
Yeah.
time zone because sometimes when I'm trying to connect with mutuals on X or
Oops, sorry.
whatever, that's all right. Um, I've had people in Arizona before talk about, oh no, our time's different and all that, and
Yeah.
confuses the life out of me. But like they seem to have a time zone onto themselves.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. So the way this works is it says there will be no turning back the clock if the House has its way. So this is the House of Representatives. The House passed a bill Tuesday that would make daylight saving time permanent, but it's not done yet. Like, that's just the first step. Proponents, including the White House, argued the change would provide more daylight during the times that Americans are most active. The vote was 308 to 117. So it was resoundingly approved. Daylight saving time, okay, I won't read that, but it says the Senate would also have to pass the bill before it could be signed into law, but it's unclear if it will do so. And then the other thing, too, is that states can also make their own stipulations before this passes. So I was explaining to Layman before we went on, I live on a border of another state, and we have a Christian school here. So if New Hampshire said we're going to have our own time, we're going to have our own way of doing it, and Vermont went with like the federal permanent decision, then we could have kids going to school at two different, like some kids have to get up at 7 to go to school, or have to be at school at 7, and other kids have to be at school at 8 according to what their state time zone is for the exact same school. And that's where it gets really confusing.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of comments here. They don't have DST in Arizona when I lived there. Oh yeah, Tony. Didn't know Tony lived there.
Yeah. He said they have, James White said they don't have DST. That's what I thought. That did ring a bell. And then Hope said, I guess the Hawaii government got one thing right.
That's in reference.
Is that in reference to...
Sam's comment.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to that. Oh, yeah. Hawaii doesn't... Yeah, I figured maybe... Okay, so what was the... Oh, okay. So Hope family, not a big fan of Hawaii's governmental decisions, I guess.
Oh.
Hawaii is incredible. I was like looking this up the other day. You know, for me to California is really, really far, right? Thousands of miles. It's almost as far from California to Hawaii. It's so far out there. It's crazy. Oh, I see. They have more. Is it communism, or is it a lot like the socialism that we see in other places too? He can fill us in as we go along here.
All I know
right,
is
well-
I'm not a big fan of most governments.
Yeah, well, you know, if your government won't even let you have air conditioning.
Oh, my government's just corrupt. Like, they exist to be corrupt.
Yeah.
It is what it is, but sadly,
They think they're being righteous, but they
nah.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't even credit them with that. I think my
Okay.
government knows exactly what they're doing, and they want
Okay.
civil unrest in the country.
I see. Yeah, that's a bad situation to be in when they're not even trying to do it. But still, even if they're trying to do the right thing, but their value system is off, that's also bad, because then they end up punishing things that are good
Yeah.
and allowing things that are, or even endorsing and promoting things that are bad, right? But I hear what you're saying. there's also governments that are like consciously corrupt. Like they know what they're doing is wrong.
Which I would say the Irish and the UK governments know exactly what they're doing.
So I guess I'm getting. Oh yeah, okay. So Hope is clarifying his views on Hawaii. They considered universal income. So here's his whole comment here. The weather, it's beautiful. The weather is nice. Cost of living is insane because of the socialist policies. They could seriously consider a universal income, and you don't need ID to get handouts. Interesting. Well, New Hampshire is definitely more like the libertarian mindset. Although we've definitely been affected by politics from other states, but our motto here is "Live free or die." That's the official New Hampshire state motto is "Live free or die." So that kind of tells you their mentality here.
Mm-hmm. I have a better motto for you guys.
Okay.
If the sun sets you free, you shall be free indeed.
Amen.
There you go.
Honestly, I had a
You
friend
update
who
that.
wrote a tract based on "Live Free or Die." I mean, and that's what it's saying. Like, all you have to do is modify it slightly, right? Because yeah, live free, but to be free, you need the sun. Yeah, good point. Okay, we're getting the history. Whenever you bring up the daylight saving time topic, people will chime in with history. So Joel says it initially started in Germany. In 1916, was introduced to the U.S. in 1918. It was intended to give farmers. I've heard that disputed. I'd love to get to the bottom of like exact. I've heard farmers, but
Everything's
I've also
disputed.
heard that farmers don't really. It doesn't matter what time it is for them because animals do what the animals are going to do what the animals are going to do. If it's like an animal farming situation, so it really doesn't matter for the farmers. I don't know. I would think it has more to do with manufacturing and saving costs on energy, which would have mattered during the wartime. Mottos don't matter.
That's a motto. It is though.
Yeah. If you want to use it, yeah, that's a personal motto. Mottos don't matter. Okay, and then I don't know what this means. Tony's land of the free unless you need an ambulance.
Because you guys pay for your ambulances. I had this discussion with someone recently about the healthcare systems. It was very passionate.
And let me guess, they were American and they were defending our healthcare approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
what do you think? I love the smile on your face.
So I have a compromised immune system, as I think the majority of the audience know. So like
Yeah.
I have a steroid inhaler,
Yeah.
and it's insane to me that what I would need to prevent me from pretty much clogging up and dying, I would have to pay for if I was out in the States. Like that's mad to me. So and then you move it into the conversation of people that have diabetes or whatever. Now I'm talking type 1 that you're born with. Type 2 is a little bit different. Like this is going to offend some people, but if you're type 2, you got yourself into that situation, it's reversible. But it's just mad to me people with type 1 diabetes and stuff just have to pay for medication that would literally be the difference between them living and dying.
It's not that simple, and that's the
Oh,
thing.
I know it's not.
Just like you said about air conditioning not actually being outlawed, it's not like doctors just say, "Oh, you can't pay, too bad, die." That's not really how it works here. That's an
No, no,
that's
no.
that's an
I'm not.
exaggeration, or
But
a
I'm not
perception
making
people I think have in other countries, but it's not really the way it works.
the perception from me is not that your healthcare is basically just saying, yeah, go die in a ditch. But that is a
Yeah.
practical reality, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, There are people out there that do not get meds that would quite literally help keep them alive, and they end up in very bad situations because of that.
Well, I can only speak, living here in my personal experience,
That
that
means nothing.
people do get what they need. They do get what they need. That's what I'm saying. A lot of this is political, and it's there are things thrown out there in the media to make it seem as if people are dying left and right. And you can get medicine here. I mean, you guys in the comments, you can give your perspective too on this. But as an American, I know, for example, here, if you're in a life-threatening situation, you would think based on media, like you'd okay, if you don't have money, too bad. That's just not how it works.
Are
You
you put
you
in
you
debt over it?
absolutely. Well, there are people who go into debt, but again, even I mean, I know like in our local area, we have a very highly renowned hospital. At the end of the day, if you can't pay, you can't pay. Like they have ways of covering those costs. That's the thing. Our culture has adjusted, and there is an expectation nowadays that if people can't pay, it's not right to put them in huge debt. Now, I'm not saying that there are no medical debts, because there can be. There can be. I'm just telling you from experience, I've seen hospitals forgive debt. I've seen hospitals basically take into account a person's financial situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basing that on like my local experience of what I've seen here. So I don't think it's simple. I think it's pretty complicated. What we hear though, and again, that's why you probably had an impassioned debate, is like if you have free health care, then you can overtax the system, theoretically, because you have people that are expecting to get medical care, and you don't have any ways of, or at least it's unclear to Americans, what are the mechanisms for keeping the costs
Well, that's
at a
what
reasonable rate.
that's what the debate was over, and it's different based on Northern Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales. Northern Ireland, I'm not going to get into it now because it would take too long. But essentially, what the average person is taxed, they would never in their lifetime pay enough tax to help pay off what they would receive from the NHS. So whenever we say that we've got free healthcare, we really do have free healthcare.
Yeah. And so a couple input here from some Americans. We have free health care for those who are low income, which is what my experience tells me too. And then Hope says, honestly, a lot of basic services are less than you might think if you don't have insurance, and tell them you're paying cash. The huge bills you see are screwy stuff that is only charged to insurance. I tend to agree with that too. Like a lot of this has to do with trying to get the insurance companies to pay. That's why you see these huge bills. But once it comes down to the individual, that can actually change.
So tell me whether this is propaganda or not then, but we have been told that an ambulance in America can run you $5,000.
I don't think that's correct. I had to take an ambulance last year. I don't.
So did I.
I didn't go $5,000 less in my bank account. That I know, but I don't know exactly what the cost was, to be honest. Yeah. Now, again, where you live could make a difference. That's the thing about America.
Yeah,
because it is.
Comment.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Patrick first. Sorry about that. People do end up in extreme. Yep, I can believe that. I met a teacher's assistant my first teacher job, as I was shocked it bankrupts people, and that was back in 2000, 2001. I think it's gotten better. Like I said, the expectations have really changed. And my experience is that hospitals have ways of covering costs so that people aren't being completely bankrupted. I think it's gotten better. But Orthodox, I'm sure there's exceptions to that. But anyway, Orthodox Philip says the biggest problem is insurance doesn't cover enough. Yeah, it's a different ballgame here. You have to like get your insurance company involved, and yeah.
Ooh.
Which one are you looking at now?
You can go through because there's only 3 more comments, but it's Philip's comment that made me
Yeah,
go.
about the 2000 to
You
tell
see,
me
that's
what your
ridiculous because
screen.
now, the,
Yeah.
here's the issue on my side. I can go to A&E anytime I want for anything, like obviously accident or emergency. The only cost that is going to cost me is I may have to wait, like I'm not even exaggerating, it's now at like 10 to 11 hours wait time just to be seen, which is ridiculous. But the idea that I would have to go to A&E and pay anywhere like
But
2000.
well, here's the thing. But here's what I'm look at what he's saying. They charged me 2000. My insurance is decent and didn't give a penny. So it sounds to me like what he's saying is they just brushed him off.
Yeah, that's fine. But what I'm saying is to like a Brit's mindset, we hear the fact that it doesn't matter who
Yeah.
pays it, whether it's you guys or the insurance. The fact that you would be charged $2,000 for something that was a medical emergency is insane. Like we look at that and go, "What the heck?"
Well, someone has got to pay for it.
Of course, but what I'm saying
Yeah.
is because we don't pay, like I would never go to the hospital and be handed
Yeah.
a bill. That's why it's so foreign to our mind.
We just see what's getting paid. It doesn't mean we pay for it.
But that's why though, about to our mindset, like that sounds
Yeah,
insane.
it is a
Because
different. I get it.
yeah, because
This
there
is really
there
good
are.
cultural, like
Mhm.
informing each other culturally of how we
Yeah,
perceive these
because
things.
again, it's not a put down, but like there definitely are people that have been put into debt through your system.
Oh
Because
yeah,
like I've seen
yeah,
documentaries of people like,
yeah,
uh, they were charged whatever amount for an ambulance. They can't get their cancer meds, whatever. Like it sounds weird to me, but
yeah, yeah. Again, it's a little bit more complicated. I think that
of course it
people have
is.
different experiences, and I can think of examples where hospitals were pretty accommodating with people's financial situations. I think it's gotten better, but anyway, I
Yeah,
don't even know how we got onto that.
Joel, he derailed us.
That's okay.
I think it
Well, we
was.
were talking about daylight savings time, and suddenly we're talking about um,
I
medical
mean, I think
coverage
it
in
was
different
Joel.
countries.
Maybe it wasn't. I'm scrolling
Okay,
back. I don't
why
know.
don't we switch to something Bible related? So I saw this. Maybe some of you have seen this already too, but Tim Nichols has a new video up, and he's actually excited about Bible updates. Not to the NKJV. He would not be excited if that were the case, but he's excited about a potential update for the NIV that he heard about in an interview with Dan Wallace, who's on the NIV committee, who is being interviewed by a woman named Faith Womack, who has a YouTube channel. And Dan Wallace couldn't give the time frame because he's not really at liberty to say, but he did say that the NIV is going to be updated. That is the plan. And the reason that Nichols is actually excited, which he says is surprising probably to people because he's generally not in favor of updates.
Well, the trouble's just arrived.
Well, man, I start bringing you up and then you show up. So now I feel like, I'm going to be putting words in your mouth. But
Do it.
people can go watch the video to see the words out of his own mouth. But what I heard you saying there in the video, Nichols, is you're excited about this particular update, and you can tell me now because I had a question about this. You were kind of intimating that the NIV might include Byzantine readings because the UBS Greek text is going to be updated, and therefore the NIV is going to include what the UBS has. And if the UBS has those bracketed texts for the Byzantine readings, then it sounds to me like you think, Nichols, that the NIV is going to have those verses that tend to be taken out in critical text editions. They're going to be put in brackets. But my question is, did you hear anybody say that? Because I wonder if they will. Like, even if the UBS does put those in brackets, I don't know that the NIV committee will end up putting them back in the text. Maybe they will. So was that more of a hopefulness on your part?
Yeah, he answered.
Okay. He just said it's my hope.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. Yeah, and I thought that was really interesting what you had to say, and I'm not surprised you're excited about that change because it goes in more of that direction that you favor. Yeah, and he's saying it's just a logical path. The only challenge might be that if the NIV has already been working on their update, that they might all be getting ready to make these changes that they've already made, and the UBS might have been changed too recently for them to include that in this next update. That sometimes happens. So we'll see. Yeah, it is already done. He's saying the UBS 9. Yeah. So but again, that's assuming they make the decision to do what the UBS does. So that will be interesting. That will be interesting. And yeah, that was one question. I'm so glad you were in the comments there to answer that question for me. But
Well, I mean, whenever you mention his name, he does appear.
yeah, suddenly, it's like the genie out of the magic lamp. He just suddenly appears.
Plus, we've already said that we need to get a date for it, but the three of us are planning to do a big stream on the supernatural, shall we say.
And he also says if they don't follow it, it would be an insane choice. So what I'm guessing is he's going to have a follow-up video if they don't put those bracketed texts in, and he's going to be about it's going to be about how disappointed he is in the NIV update. Yeah, I guess the other question I had, Nichols, since you're there, is you mentioned you wanted them to go back on some of the changes they made in the last update. Was there like a specific example you were thinking of? If you're talking about the gender stuff, I doubt they're going to go back on that.
I wonder why.
Yeah, he says he'll be disappointed if they don't make the changes, but yeah. Yeah, and I was mentioning to Layman before we went live that so the HCSB had the bracketed text. The NASB 95 had the bracketed text. The CSB 2017 and on does not have the bracketed text for like the Lord's Prayer, for example. Now, when you get to the end of the book of Mark, that's a distinction that has to be made. The end of the book of Mark, a lot of these Bibles do include that. They do include verses 19 and 20 in brackets. But I'm talking about all the bracketed texts. I'm talking about verses like the Lord's Prayer. Mm-hmm. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. The CSB puts that in the footnote. The NASB 2020 puts that in the footnote. And what I hear Nichols saying is maybe the NIV will put that back into the text in a bracket.
Well, so, that's his hope.
Yeah, he also hopes to go back to the gender. I just don't think the NIV. Okay, yeah, I could see that one being changed about.
Well, yeah, it's the second half
translation
of the
numbers.
Yeah, it's the second half of the comment that intrigued me.
Yeah, because you want to know what the reference is?
No, I know what the reference is, but what I'm meaning is I haven't read the NIV, and I have no idea how many years. It's been well over a decade, so I don't know how the NIV even renders that.
What is the reference? Because we could look at it right now and see.
Hold on, I'll see if I can pull it up.
And then Tony's saying here that the CSB has, yeah, so what Nichols is addressing is actually having these readings in the text. You're right, though, Tony. They've continued to, put those in the footnotes, which is, I like that the CSB has good footnotes, and the NASB, even the 2020, does still have, really good footnotes.
Go to Numbers chapter 5.
Okay. So we're looking up, and I need to do this in the NIV.
Yep.
Okay.
And
So Numbers chapter 5.
specifically 21 to 28. At least that's what I think he's referring to. If I'm wrong, you can correct me.
Okay. All right. And then I got to get the
Because
right
the only
translation
reason I'm
here.
going to this passage is I'm used to Muslims bringing this up as if, what's being talked about here is abortion.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I will bring this up. This is the section, right?
Yes, before you go on, I'm assuming Argentina just scored, judging by Tony's comment.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, depending on how that game goes, Tony's comments could start to get pretty belligerent. All right. So is there a specific part of this where that would be considered abortion?
I think it's where there read verse
27?
27. Yeah.
If she has made herself impure and been unfaithful to her husband, this will be the result. When she is made to drink the water that brings a curse and causes bitter suffering, it will enter her abdomen will swell and her womb will miscarry, and she will become a curse. Okay, what I want to do now that we know the exact verse, is let's pull this up in all the different translations.
I would also bring it up in the interlinear.
So the KJV, I'll go down to the authorized. Okay. If she be defiled and hath done trespass against her husband, that the water that causeth the curse shall enter her and become bitter, and her belly shall swell, and her thighs shall rot. The woman shall be a curse among her people. Okay. So I think the difference I'm seeing is that one specifically says it will cause a miscarriage.
Yeah, because that's why I said go to Bible Hub and bring up their interlinear.
Because you want to know if the
No,
Greek
no,
says it?
no.
Or, I mean, if
I
the
know.
Hebrew says it?
I know what it says because, as I say, I've had these discussions with Muslims. But the reason why I want people to see the interlinear is to see how I'm not going to assign motives to the NIV committee, but where they got miscarry from.
Yeah. Let me see. Numbers 5, 27. I am pulling up an interlinear here. I'm used to the interface of
Bible Gateway.
Blue Letter Bible, so
Ah.
so I'm using Blue Letter, but it'll
That's
give
fine.
us the same info. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So and this is going to be the NASB, which also is helpful probably. Oh dear. Sorry about that.
Well, just so you know, you haven't switched tabs on our end yet. So.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to make sure the formatting is going to
Yep.
be easy enough to see. Sorry about that. With EVMux, sometimes it just changes the way the screen looks. So, yeah, I mean, we can go through here. Let me do... Will it... Yeah, sorry about... It's not the best format, but it's... We'll just... Sorry about that. Doo-doo-doo. Okay, at least you have the website here now. Okay. So is there a specific word you're looking for?
No, like, so just read through it so people can see it. Like, you'll see that the term miscarry is not here.
Right. Then has been, who brings a curse, the water into her, and I will waste away her abdomen.
Her abdomen. Now, where does that say anything? So it goes on, and I will swell.
Yep.
So
Well, to me, it
where?
just sounds, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm no Hebrew scholar, but the NIV's translation philosophy is more dynamic. So I would imagine they're saying that when he says, I will waste away her abdomen, that they're using a dynamic translation to say that's the miscarriage.
But the problem is Go back to the original text.
Yeah, I don't see anything. Well,
It doesn't mention
okay,
any. It doesn't mention anything about her being pregnant.
exactly, exactly,
So that's
right.
why the NIV here is like, I agree with
Hmm.
Nichols here where he says it is a major stretch. I would go a step further. I would say it's an awful translation and shouldn't be there. This is another reason why I really don't like the NIV. They take modern liberties.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
All
says
right.
nothing indicates she's currently pregnant. Exactly. There's nothing in the text about this being a pregnant woman. It's a test of an unfaithful wife. Now, the
Oh
consequences
yeah, and
of the
verse
fact
21 also, the verse 21 also says he makes your womb
27, Tony.
miscarry, and yeah, also verse 21, the NIV says, "May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people when he makes your womb miscarry and your abdomen swell."
But again, that's
Yeah.
not in the text. That's the thing. That's being read into that.
Well, let me go to this one now and see if that phrase is the same. Yeah, go to the forward interlinear. And the priest shall say with the oath a curse to the woman. Yeah, and an oath and waste away your thigh. And the Lord's swell your abdomen.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the idea of the curse is she will never be fruitful. That because she's been an unfaithful wife. But what the NIV has done there is they have inserted that, as Nichols rightly said, that they are basically inserting that she is currently pregnant and that God will cause the child to die.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me also go back here. I'm so curious now. I'm just curious how different translations deal with this.
Well, just while you're doing that, Tony, Numbers chapter 5.
Make thy thigh of yeah. A lot of these are much more
Yeah.
literal. So let me go. Like here's the CSB. May the Lord make you an object of your people's cursing and swearing when he makes your womb shrivel and your belly swell.
We
So
don't have
that's
it on screen.
I keep doing this. I don't know why my brain is I keep pressing the wrong button. Anyway, that's the CSB. May the Lord make you into an object of your people's cursing and swearing when he makes your womb shrivel and your belly swell. So nothing there about
Nothing
a
about miscarriage, but what it
right.
is saying is if she is an unfaithful wife, God will curse her so that she will never be fruitful. It's not saying anything about God. She's currently pregnant and God's going to cause the child to pass away.
Here's the CEB. By the way, this is not a conservative translation. It's the Common English Bible, not to be confused with the one we just read. But this one also goes with something much more like the NIV. May the Lord make you a curse and harmful pledge among your people when the Lord induces a miscarriage and your womb discharges.
Text don't say that. That's the problem. This is translation committees, I would say, being influenced by culture, and they include these things out of their own opinion. The Hebrew doesn't read that way.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Huh. I'm just looking at this one here. This is a really
Which one?
so the EXB. So this expanded Bible.
Oh, well,
Oh,
that
that's
says a
interesting.
lot.
Well, let's look up what it is.
It'll probably be something like the Amplified Bible.
Huh. Sorry, guys, we're going down a rabbit hole here. I didn't mean to
Well,
do
go
that.
for it. Well,
This
the
is
audience are
this is
into
what
it, so go for it.
well, what this does is it adds words in brackets,
Yeah, so
and it says
it's
he will
similar
make
to the
your
Amplified.
stomach get big, uterus drop, and he will make your body unable to give birth to another baby. Womb discharge, thigh waste away, wither, a euphemism for the womb. So that's adding in a little bit, but it is kind of going along with that idea that you won't have future children. is the way
Exactly.
I'm reading it. Yeah.
Exactly, because the idea behind it is it's a curse. She will never be fruitful again, and I hate saying biblical times because that phrase isn't really a good phrase. But what I mean is during those times, we all know that if a woman was unable to bear a child, she was seen as less than. That's why you have Hannah praying so fervently for a child in the Old Testament. So
Mm-hmm.
if you're an unfaithful wife and God causes your womb to come forth, it's not talking about a child coming forth. It's talking about your womb to like quite literally rot, like to discharge. She
Yep.
will never be fruitful again. But what people are reading into that and then inserting into it is that she was currently pregnant. The Hebrew gives nothing to that.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, thank you for the content.
The NCV says he will make your stomach get big and he will make your body unable to give birth to another baby. That's the New Century version.
Mm-hmm.
Which again is a little dynamic, but it is going along more with what you think it's actually getting at there.
Well, I don't think it's just me. Like, if you read anywhere throughout I would say up until modern centuries, there's no commentator in church history that has ever read this to be a thing of a miscarriage. That's why whenever Muslims bring this up in stream, they have to they have to cite
Cite the NIV.
modern scholars.
Right. This is so interesting, though. The New International Reader's Version, which is for a lower level ability to read English, says, "May the Lord cause you to become a curse among your people. You will become a curse when the Lord makes your body unable to have children."
And I would say that's a very good reading.
Isn't that funny? Like that's that is weird.
Yeah. Their Orthodox Philip wanted to check the LXX as well, and that has the thigh fall to pieces in your room as well. Yeah, because the idea of the thigh there, like we're going to read that woodenly as, a thigh. It's not quite saying that it's the in between parts of the legs. It's quite literally causing the organ to rot.
What about the Passion Translation?
Yo, get that out of here.
What does that say?
Oh, who knows? He
Let's ask Mike
probably.
Winger what it says.
To be honest, I really wouldn't be surprised if the Passion Translation probably does include abortion in that. And I'm not
By
even
the way, Mike,
exaggerating.
just because I was joking there, Mike Winger really dislikes the Passion Translation and has a
So do
lot of
I.
information. No, I know, and he has a lot of information as to its problems. So I just didn't want anybody to hear it wrong and think I was saying that Mike Winger endorses it. It's the opposite. Mike Winger completely is against the Passion Translation.
No, hang on. Sorry, stay there a second.
Oh,
Well, yeah, but before you go to that one, read the
yeah.
WYC.
Oh, the Wycliffe.
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, our main man Wycliffe here. The Lord make thine hip to wax rotten, and thy womb to swell, and be it broken. Thou shalt be subject to these curses. Yea, let the Lord make thee a curse and an example to all among all his people. May the Lord make thy hip to grow rotten, thy womb to swell, and let it be broken.
Yeah. Tony, Numbers 5:27, I believe. Or are you currently on
21. I think I'm on
21.
20.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because it's what the priest is pronouncing here. And in the current NIV, the NIV 2011, it's talking about, it uses the word miscarry. But yeah, also the voice translation, which, is not a real commonly used one, but it does have more something like the NIV. Then may the Eternal One make your name a shunning reproach, an insult, or a warning among the people, because you will have a miscarriage and your belly will swell. Huh.
Now go back up there a minute to the TLV. Yeah. Oh, stop. No, you're way too far. There.
Mm-hmm. Let Adonai cause you to be cursed and denounced among
Yeah,
your people when
your thigh
Adonai...
to rot in your belly to swell. Now, That's the Tree of Life version, which has more like Jewish roots behind it. So like they're sticking to the Hebrew in a lot of areas. So
Hmm.
like that's what I'm saying. Like you don't need to be a Hebrew scholar these days to pick up an interlinear and see whether it's not just about a word being included, but you can check what certain words mean and what they may include and what they do. There's nothing in the Hebrew text at all that would include the fact that this woman is already pregnant. That's the thing. That's being read into it, and I would say translations that have gone with that, they're
Yeah.
going with that because
Well,
of an agenda.
my only question, and I'm just asking this because it's an interesting topic, but my only
Heretic.
question is, you're calling me a heretic for asking a question? So you
Not
probably can
literally.
figure out what I'm going to ask, but if a woman has been adulterous and she is pregnant as a result, would this cause her womb to be unhealthy and therefore have a miscarried child?
I think because of the Bible's stance on life, like the Lord says that the firstborn of the womb are set apart unto Him. Um, I don't think that this ceremony would even be carried out if a woman was pregnant.
Interesting.
No, I have nothing to back that up with other than the fact that I would appeal to other scriptures where, as I said,
Yeah.
pregnant women are treated where the life in the womb is also treated as equal. And again, God says time and time again that people are to redeem the child in the womb. So I don't
So
think
wait a
that this
second.
would even be.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but my question is like, if wasn't the adultery the death penalty?
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah,
For
would
male and female.
right. But women sometimes get pregnant in adulterous situations. So I can't recall like if the Old Testament law, changes, and it may change how to deal with a woman if she's pregnant.
There,
It's a
there
very good
there's there,
question.
there's nothing mentioned about that, but I think whenever it comes to adultery, especially in the Old Testament, you see those passages more
Mhm.
often than not. The people had to be quite literally caught in the act, which
Yeah.
is why in the New Testament, whenever the woman is brought before Jesus, part of the reason Jesus essentially shames the men that bring her is because the man was not brought. That's part of it. So there's other reasons I would say as well, but whenever it comes to the idea of a couple being quite literally caught in the act, and if they were caught in adultery, there would be a trial, but then they would be stoned pretty much immediately. Um, Now that's going to open the door then to people being like, oh, so there's a time period, where because we'll say
Yeah.
life begins from conception, all that sort of stuff. So
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking out loud there. My
oh yeah,
my
no, they're good
my
questions.
personal take, and the Young's literal translation also shows us like what a more literal rendering is, although it's older English. Jehovah doth give thee for an execration and for a curse in the midst of thy people, and in Jehovah's giving thy thigh to fall and thy belly to swell. My take on it is it would be better for the NIV to be more literal there. No doubt, I would say it's better to, if the Hebrew is not abundantly clear on something, be very careful about reading something into that, especially a really sensitive topic. You should just, and I have a feeling that is something they would consider changing. Let's hope so. I
I
could see
I,
Dan
I would hope
Wallace
so. Yeah.
advocating for a change there. Yeah.
But look, here, even though this is not my stance, this is what I would say. If indeed this was still to be carried out, if a woman was pregnant, which again, I don't think that would be the case because Nichols even pointed out something I was going to say earlier. It would take a long time for you to know a woman was pregnant back then. So let's say, for example, a man suspect that his 3 month pregnant wife had an affair because like timeline or whatever doesn't add up. I don't think she would be brought then to do that trial. Now, this is just my opinion, but I'm saying I don't think she'd be brought to do that trial. I think perhaps whenever the baby was born, she could be brought to do that trial. But here's what I would say. If God would require that child's life, that still would not be the equivalent of today's abortion.
Of
So
course.
I know you agree with this, but I'm just saying, like, this is something I've even said on these panels before. To try and equate that today as like, oh well, God allows for abortion. No, that wouldn't be an abortion. That would be, unfortunately, the death of a child is a consequence of the woman's action. But that's why I don't. Again, just my opinion. I don't think a woman would even be brought to do that if there was a chance that she was pregnant. So
Yeah. Okay, so I think what I want to do is get to kind of one last topic that I had planned here, which is about Matthew Everhard's video, another guest that we've had on our channel. And I hope, especially as we get close to the release of the Jonathan Edwards Study Bible, that he was heavily involved in that project, that we can maybe have him back on to talk about that. Maybe him and Colton, since Colton is the primary reviewer of that study Bible, the premier reviewer.
Well, just before we switch over to that, I'll just acknowledge Nicholas' comment. He says we do have the complication of David's child with Bathsheba. Yeah, that to me, though, what would still be the case of that would be an outlier in my mind. But I would also say that, again, when the Lord takes a life, it's not the equivalent. And I know that's not what he's arguing. I'm just saying this so it's on record. That would not be the equivalent of us humans deciding we get to take a life. Life is the Lord's. He gets to give it and take it. So,
yeah.
Anyway, back to.
All right. I'm just trying to. Okay. I want to show a clip of Matt Everhard's video here without messing up. I keep turning off the sharing, but let me see if I can get this right. Okay, it's there. I'll try not to delete it. Yeah, so he did a video in response to a couple of other videos. Redeemed Zoomer did a video on schism in the church.
As he's
Redeemed Zoomer is part of a mainline denomination, theologically, in many ways liberal, the PCUSA. Matthew Everhard, who you see in this video here, is part of the PCA, which is a conservative Presbyterian denomination. And so Matt Everhard is responding to a video by Redeemed Zoomer on schism. And Dr. Cooper, is that what his name? Yeah, Jordan Cooper is a Lutheran who first responded about the video on schism on his channel, and now Matt Everhard is responding to both of them. And Matt Everhard basically says that he agrees a lot with Dr. Jordan Cooper, except that Dr. Jordan Cooper comes at it from a Lutheran perspective and kind of starts by using more of Lutheran tradition and thought, which, Redeemed Zoomer is Presbyterian. So it's actually really, I think it is cool to see Matt Everhard. He's starting more from like, let's start with the Bible and also giving a Presbyterian perspective. He's even dealing with the Westminster Confession of Faith and how they would look at these issues too, which Redeemed Zoomer and Matt Everhard have a shared theology in terms of their Presbyterianism. But they disagree on whether, who should you look at as a schismatic. And Zoomer basically comes down, and I'll show the clip here, but Zoomer comes down that it's the institution. Like if you break off from the institution, you're the schismatic. Whereas Everhard is saying if you break off doctrinally, you're the schismatic. that it's a matter of who breaks off doctrinally. So they're both looking at it from different angles. And let me just share some of this so you can get a feel for what he's saying.
Now let's look back at Zoomer's graph here. If he was graphing this out instead of me, here's what he would say: that the PCUSA, the main line, is the faithful and true Presbyterian Church because it is the one who has lineal genealogical descendancy from the 1788 Presbyterians, and that branches like the PCA, like my branch here, they are the schismatics because they broke away from the main line. Okay, so now that holds with his definition that you cannot commit schism for doctrinal or even heretical or sacramental issues. Now we know why he wants to believe that, because of course the PCUSA rather is rife with doctrinal, heretical, moral, and other problems, which is part of the reason why groups keep breaking away from it, namely the OPC, the PCA, the EPC, ECO, and so forth. Okay, but here's, I think, according to the biblical definition that we've established from the biblical texts, here's what the graph should really look like. The true continuing church of the 1788 Presbyterians is actually groups like the PCA and the OPC, because we are those who are holding to fidelity to the Bible and our confessions. Whereas the PCUSA, the main line, unfortunately, has descended into moral and doctrinal chaos. And I don't think anybody could really debate that. That's not really even a point that's up for debate, whether or not the PCUSA has descended into moral, doctrinal, ethical chaos. Obviously, it has. Now, sometimes we might use euphemisms, which cover up.
Okay, I think I'll stop there because I don't want to get too long into that. That gives you a taste. What I think is really helpful is I like the graphics he uses here, because it really visualizes the two different outlooks. And Zoomer looks at, when you start with 1788 and you trace the line, he sees the PCUSA as carrying on what was started, whereas Everhard sees the PCA and other conservative groups as carrying on what was started.
Yeah.
And I look at it as one is arguing for continuity based on institution, and the other is arguing for continuity based on doctrine. And so which merits the arbiters of that heritage? And you can see why there's two ways of looking at this. It's kind of like when you talk with Roman Catholics, they will say we are the early church. Like, we can trace back. We have all the line of bishops that go all the way back. So they're like Zoomer here, focusing on the institutional continuity, whereas many other Christians would say, well, if you actually look at what the early church taught and the church throughout history that's being biblical, we're carrying on that heritage, and so we have continuity too. So I think I know where you stand on this particular debate, but I actually am.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm really curious, because you're not here in the U.S. Is there anything like this going on where you are?
Not in the same vein, no. But
Okay.
we've had this conversation before. I think it was even maybe a couple of months ago. It wasn't that long ago. But the issue with this is there's many fathers that you can read where they would say that schism is sin. And I agree with that. Schism is sin. But what gets read into that a lot of times, and I know Orthodox Philip would disagree here, but what gets read into that a lot of times is this assumption that even if there is a massive heretic, like let's say an anti-pope, even if he tells you to, jump up and down and kick a child, right? You still shouldn't. You don't do what he does, obviously, but don't schism away from him because he's still in that. He's in the Sea of Peter, all that sort of stuff. But whenever you read the fathers, they don't talk about schism in that way. Whenever they talk about schism, they are saying, if this is a faithful man of God, you taking it upon yourself. Same way that, because this was brought up as well in Dr. Cooper's response to this, Korah's rebellion in the Old Testament, right? Moses was not an unfaithful person who was, making up doctrine willy nilly. Korah just wanted some of the power. So Korah was like, well, I'm going to separate off, and we're going to decide for ourselves what's right. That's what the fathers are often talking about schism. Don't separate off from the true church because you want to set up your own entity, have your own power, that sort of thing. But what is not said in the fathers is, because they just take it for granted, that if you are in a good church, if you're in a church that has apostolic succession, and now that can look like laying on of hands and appointing men, but it can also be doctrinal succession. They say to you, do not schism, because if you do that, you are separating yourself from the church, and that is sin. So my position is kind of pretty much is Matt's, but that's the thing. This is where Zimmer gets it wrong, because if this is Zimmer's position, well, he's a schismatic from breaking off from Rome, because ultimately the Reformation-based churches came out of Rome.
Yeah, I'll be honest. There's a part of me that really would love to have Zoomer on here because I find him so. It's hard for me to fully grasp why he looks at things the way he does. Like I understand him, but I'm pretty interested in how he deduces these things, and I would just. One thing I can tell about him is he definitely, when you talk about sin, we all have to kind of prioritize what we think is the worst thing, and because you kind of have to go in order of like, okay, and Everhard puts doctrinal false teaching way up there. Like if there's false teaching, that's a it's gonna ruin the church. Whereas Zoomer is kind of saying, no, first is unity. And breaking unity is the fundamental sin.
Yep.
And they're just prioritizing two different things. But I will say, Zoomer does have, I wish I could find it right now, but he has like this chart or something I saw where he does say there are times when you can have division. So he kind of makes this allowance for it, and that's why he sees the Protestant reformers as being fine. And I think what it said was like, if the church, basically, if the whole church, the institution, will ban you for believing the right thing, then you have a right to start a different church. That would be like the way he would.
But again, that falls back on him because the PCUSA has fallen into such a state of, just because you can find some, local churches within the PCUSA that have orthodox doctrine, right? The denomination as a whole has long ago abandoned the biblical gospel. Long ago. Because there's so many things in there that invalidate even, because again, you have to remember, so Tim, this will not apply to you, but to the PCUSA, the sacraments hold a higher view. So even within them, like I've heard Zimmer say on so many occasions that a woman can administer the Eucharist. There's no Reformed confession. There's no Reformed writer. And I even corrected him once on X in this, and he just ignored it. He took down the post later on because so many people got onto him. We have Reformed doctors that would say, in the absolute case of emergency, like someone is on their deathbed, could a woman baptize a man? Sure. Okay. Could she give the Eucharist? No. Because that is seen, given the Eucharist is seen as coming from the elder or the presbyters, that role is limited to a man. Now, he basically put out and said that his tweet was something, and I don't want to put words in his mouth because it was over a year ago, but it was something along the lines of the Reformed doctors allow for this. And I basically asked him, give me the source, because everything I can find says the opposite, that they're not allowed. Then he deleted the post. I'm not saying I made him delete the post, because there's a lot of people getting on to him about it, and he just deleted the post. He has a habit of doing this. He will assert things at times, hoping, and I'm not trying to read into him, but I would assume he maybe hopes that people won't push back too hard, but then when they do, he'll delete the post. So this idea of that you should still remain with the PCUSA even though like she has gone completely apostate. It's nonsense. Now, I really wish I knew we were going down this route today, because I would have brought up the group that I was talking about before when we talked about this. There was a group of bishops one time that eventually did come out of the church because like she had gone wildly astray. They met in the public square and held church in the public square. They were accused of schism in their day, and later on it was rectified and said no, they did what was right. Why was it later rectified and said they did what was right? Because what was being preached in the church at that time, and it was a local body, by the way, not Church Universal, because the local church had gone completely apostate. And those men did not stay in there and try to revive it. They came out. And I would say that that is also scriptural. Like God says, come out of her, my people, so that you do not bear in her sins. So if you're quote unquote schisming because you see that your church has gone completely apostate. And by the way, when I say church, I don't mean just your local church, because if I'm in a Presbyterian church and my local church has gone apostate, I go find another local church that hasn't. But if the entire denomination of Presbyterians come out tomorrow and say we're gay affirming, we're pro abortion, we're this, that, and the other, and by the way, we don't really think Jesus is the Son of God. Okay, well, guess what? I'm no longer Presbyterian. I've came out of Presbyterianism. I've gone in now to a faithful branch of the church. That's not schism. That's not schism. Schism is whenever you intentionally want to usurp power.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is more akin to Everhard's view. He thinks that the onus is on whoever is changing the doctrine, that they're actually causing the rift by changing the doctrine. So, yeah, it gets a little complicated, though, because what you just mentioned, even with the PCUSA, and I know this is not your context. You know, these are United States denominations.
Yep.
The PCUSA, I mean, it has it in the title there. It's the USA.
Yeah. And for us, it's PCI.
Yeah, the PCA, which Matt Everhard is in, is the Presbyterian Church of America. What's yours?
PCI, Presbyterian Church of Ireland. It's not my church, but that's the equivalent of Matt's denomination here.
Yeah. PCA, PSI, or PC, whatever.
PSI is the police force.
Sorry about that. PCI. Yeah. Anyway, so what's a little complicated here is the PCUSA, and Everhard shows it in his video, like when you go back to like the starting point of like what they believe, their core beliefs, the PCA has not officially changed those. They have never said we don't believe in these historic doctrines. So they continue to like on some level say we believe in these historic doctrines. And I think that's where Zoomer's sometimes trying to really press hard into this is he's like, well, there's still a fundamental like doctrinal continuity there on paper that hasn't actually changed. And he would also argue that the churches in the PCUSA that are conservative are really carrying on that heritage, even doctrinally. And this is a really interesting question. And I'm saying all this as an outsider. I mean, I'm not in the Presbyterian Church, but from what you know of the PCA, and it would be cool if Matt Everhard could actually answer this sometime, but...
Well, sure, we can get him on.
I guess my question is, if you took a conservative PCUSA and a... Let's face it, the PCA is not completely uniform.
No.
Like, right? Because you have churches that probably sometimes... aren't not quite as conservative in some ways, right? I think Zoomer just loves tradition and highly values it. And he would say a PCUSA church that is conservative is way more like what those historic Presbyterian churches were during the Reformation than a contemporary PCA church. So that to me is, I think, a little bit of what's going on here. I also think he's very frustrated by people assuming that the answer is always to just start your own church. That's always
Yes.
the answer, instead of
And
trying to correct the institution.
and that's a valid criticism because that's what schism actually is. But the problem
Yeah.
is he is assuming that the PCUSA can be brought back. Here's where I would have a fundamental difference with him here. If there was a few local bodies within the PCUSA that were doing this, and the PCUSA came out as a body and says, look, we do not accept this, these churches are being called to repent, he would 100% have a case for saying to guys like Machen, who originally broke off, you're in schism. You instead of fighting for your denomination, you branched off, all of that. The issue is, though, but the PCUSA as a denomination is corrupt now at its core. The conservative churches within her, the local bodies, they are now the minority. That's why they are fighting to try and get it back. But the problem is, when you have institutional corruption at that level, you are not bringing it back. You just aren't. Like outside of a miracle from God, which I know that's what Zimmer and them are, hoping for.
Right.
And again, that's admirable in some sense, but the issue is for you to then go on and call everybody a schismatic because they don't want a pastrix or rainbow
Right.
flags hanging in the church. No, you're wrong. That is a church that has fallen into great apostasy, and you need to come out of her.
It's interesting because Matt Everhard actually, toward the end of the video, really compliments the effort of, I think it's Presbyterians for the Kingdom is what
that's
he
the
mentions there. He compliments them. He's like, I see glimmers of hope in that. So Everhard seems to have some level of optimism that maybe over time changes could happen.
Well, look,
but obviously Everhard is not convinced that the change has happened enough to where he would ever consider being part of the PCUSA. But I do wonder too, I know this is all hypothetical, and Everhard and Zoomer have actually debated this subject. I do wonder, like, did the conservatives in the 70s have any chance, if they had stayed in the PCUSA, of steering the ship back?
there's a strong argument to make
Zoomer is
that they would,
saying
yes.
that was the initial problem, is that they all abandoned ship instead of staying there.
Yeah, there's an argument that can be made for that, but the problem is you're past that point now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
look, he can blame all the people that jumped ship and said, look, you've helped contribute to the rot. Let me just grant that and say, okay, they've contributed to the rot. They shouldn't have schismed out. The issue is, even if the PCA rejoined the PCUSA tomorrow, they would still be able to overthrow the corruptional institutional rot because it's already taken place. So you could look at that and say, yeah, Zimmer was right. You shouldn't have schismed off. But now that you have, what's to be done about it? Well, what's to be done about it is you would look at churches like the PCA and go, well, they are maintaining the apostolic faith. The PCUSA is not. So if we cannot take back this branch, which to be honest, I don't think they can, again, outside of a miracle, I would not be throwing glass stones at the PCA and saying you guys are schismatic. The most you could say is that the original people that left were schismatic. Because
I think it's a strategy. And I'm sorry to cut you off. I just was going to throw out there, I think his mentality, I agree with you. I do agree with you. But I think his mentality, from what I can tell, is if I tell them this enough, I can maybe convict a lot of them into coming back into the PCU. I'm telling you what I think his mentality is.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just saying I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I know you don't agree with it. But I think his thought is, if I can convince them to come back, then we will have more momentum and even a more likelihood of steering the ship back in the way it should go. My question is, if everybody did what Zoomer wants, wouldn't the PCA USA just kick them all out anyway, and we're back to square one? Like that. That's where
Well,
I'm not convinced. Like he says you have a right to be in a different church if you get kicked out. I think they would all get kicked out. Maybe I'm
well,
wrong, but
no, they would, and here's how I'll tell you, because this is what I was trying to say earlier. Whenever you brought up Presbyterians for the
yeah.
Kingdom, I have a young friend that was part of the Presbyterians for the Kingdom, and he was by his own admission, and from what I seen, they were him and Redeemed Simmer were very close. He treated Redeemed Simmer as a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
They have had a very public falling out, and I was watching his
Oh.
stream a couple of days ago, and he's now converted to Lutheranism. He just announced that a couple of days ago. But one of the shifts for that was, and this is his own words, so like this is on video, so this is not me bringing a scoop or whatever. It's already out there. The sentiment within the what's it called again? You just said it a moment ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The group.
Yeah. The Presbyterians for the Kingdom.
Presbyterians for
yeah.
the Kingdom.
Yeah.
I was going to say presidents, and I knew that.
You just said it too.
I know, but my brain's not. Well,
I know.
He
Same with me.
was ostracized because he held conservative views that women should not be in ordained positions. This is in that group that is so-called taking back the denomination.
Right.
And his own video, he said that their stance, while will not publicly be that, behind the scenes and the Discord calls and things like that, they are very much okay with the liberal drift.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason that him and Zimmer have had the fallout. And that's why you're seeing Redeemed Zimmer make comments like, no, I think women can be pastor. Well, he doesn't call them pastrix. But
right.
that explains, like, the moment I heard that, like, I've always had my suspicions, but that explains why he will make statements that it's better to be under a female pastor than Pastor Billy Bob down the road who started his own church. It's not just about schism for Simmer. I think deep down he does actually hold the view that women can indeed be ordained, because that seems to be what the Presbyterians for the Kingdom have now drifted towards. So
I might be wrong. I mean, I'd have to really, I would in a way love to have Zoomer on to kind of grill him.
wouldn't.
Not, I know you wouldn't. That would be a tough one for you.
It would, because we have had now he'll deny this, but we have had clashes, although not directly, because I know he is aware of my criticisms of him, because I'm friends with a lot of the young guys that are in his Discord. He will pretend like he doesn't have a clue who I am. Now, it's not important who I am, but I know he would come on here and be like, yeah, I don't know who this guy is. It would just be infuriating to me, because, again, it's not about him recognizing me. It's about, don't lie. We have had interactions. So, don't, but anyway.
Yeah. So if I ever had him on, I'd have to wait for a week where you were planning to be away.
I mean, look, if you had him on, it would be a guest that you could interview, no problem, and I could review it with you after. But yeah, I don't know if I would want to be on with him.
I get that.
I'm honest.
Hey, we've had discussions too where I'm not always comfortable talking with certain people. I totally get that.
And for me, the comfortability would be if he would be upfront. I don't think I would have as much of an issue with it, but from what I know of him privately and what he denies and things like that, I just think it would be a bit of I think I would lose my cool if he was being slimy. So it would make for good content, but probably wouldn't be good for my soul.
Right. That's true. Yeah. Well, we'd care more about your soul than the content, for sure. But
I just think, though, but because going back into the schism thing because I don't know how much longer you want to go, but going back into the schism thing, this is what came at the heart of the Reformation, because the magisterial reformers thought that Rome was, now I need to be careful the way I put this, because I know some people will automatically take this out of context. They thought Roman Catholicism was a true branch of Christianity, and they said that there were many true churches and true believers within her, but that she had got mud in her face, meaning that they needed to wash off all the accretions, wash off all the dirt, and go back to her apostolic roots. So this charge that Roman Catholics often levy of, the reformers just wanted to start up their own church, their own, no, Martin Luther didn't actually want to leave the Roman Catholic Church. He was happy to remain in her. He eventually gets excommunicated by the Pope because of pressure from all the bishops and the cardinals around the Pope. Then whenever you go on and you go a little bit further into the Reformation taking root, you have the Reformation, and then comes the Radical Reformation, and then you've got groups downstream from that. That is where sometimes I can see the Catholic and Orthodox position of the Reformation was bad, because to them it looks like it went from having a church going into multiple little churches. I get that criticism. Now, here's why I kind of forgot to say this earlier, but this is what I was pointing out, or trying to point out about Matt saying, that I forget now what he said, but I'll link it back to this in a second. A lot of modern Roman Catholics, apologists, I should say, would say that you cannot blame the sons of the Reformation for the Reformation. That's why Roman Catholics would look at us and say they are separated brethren, meaning they want us to come home to Rome, all that. I'm not getting into the ins and outs of that, but they sometimes have a more charitable take to the people that grew up Protestant and didn't actually cause the Reformation. So they will look at that and go, you are separated brethren, you're not responsible for the Reformation, but you should come home. That's how they view schism. But then look at how Redeemed Sumer, and that's what I was trying to say, look at how Redeemed Sumer views schism. He would look at people like Matt Everhard and all the rest, and he's used these words before, so I'm not putting this in his mouth. He's called them cowards. He's called them, all sorts of things because they schismed off. He has more friendliness towards Roman Catholics than he does people in the PCA or even Baptists. Like, you've heard some of the things he said about John MacArthur, everything else. Zoomer appeals to Roman Catholics, although they've kind of turned on him in recent days because of some of his comments. But it's interesting to me that you can have Rome look at Protestants and show a little bit more grace when it comes to, in their view, schism versus Redeemed Sumer's idea of schism.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm guessing he would look at Matt Everhard, though, as a separated brother. I think.
I don't know.
I think he
I don't know.
He does ultimately, I think, consider Everhard an ally in many ways. It's just that he so strongly wants to rebuild the PCUSA that's, I think, where he, and again, similar to Catholics, they might look at us as separated brethren, but once you get them on the subject of institution, they're pretty angry with us still for not being part of their church.
Oh yeah. Of course they are. That's not me. That's not me downplaying that. But what I'm pointing out is where their charitability comes from. They look at us as basically being the children of a divorce. So they would say, you're messed up kids.
Yeah, they're not attacking us directly.
Yeah, but it's not it's not your fault. We're angry at the actual reformers. Now, if you continue in that stream, okay.
Yeah.
Different opinion. But what I'm pointing out there is more the fact of they show more grace to Protestants than Redeemed Sumer shows to someone like Matt, who, and again, people can correct me if I'm wrong. I've heard Matt call Redeemed Sumer a brother in the Lord multiple times. I've never heard Redeemed Sumer say that about Matt. I've heard him call him a friend, but I've never heard him call a brother in the Lord, so I don't know. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I wouldn't be sure.
I think he considers him a brother. But anyway, I do have a question for you. Because this to me is really fascinating and helpful. When we're thinking about schism, and the Presbyterians, there are things about them I really appreciate, even though I'm not Presbyterian, and I appreciate that they do have a definite view of the church as a collective entity, that it's not like just churches are all
I'll still
separated
be
on
able to
their
hear
own.
you. I just need to close my door here for a second. So bear.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to ask him a question, so he can hear me right now. But I was kind of just saying that Presbyterians do have this idea of the collective aspect of the church, that churches are not just isolated entities, they're part of something larger. And Presbyterian polity reinforces that, because you have not only individual churches, but they're part of larger groups and all the way up to a national church.
Yep.
And I appreciate that. However, my question is, everybody still has to decide this issue of how do you navigate institutional differences within an institution, and at what point is there a breaking point, and how do you so here's a good example of the kind of question. If you were a Presbyterian in the 1970s, do you think you, based on what you know, would have remained with the PCUSA back then if you were a pastor, or would you think that there's enough there to say, yeah, that PCUSA isn't worth preserving? I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you know when it's right to start something new? Because it's like almost like, I feel like Presbyterians realize you can't just break over every little thing. You can't just be like, hey, because I disagree with, because Baptists sometimes are known for being that way. Like we're too divisive,
Yeah.
we're too independent. Presbyterians seem to say, yeah, we have to have wiggle room. But like, where's the breaking point there? I'm curious. Do you think that breaking point was already reached in the 70s?
Probably not. That's why I think I probably would be on Zoomer's side, in the sense that now I have the power of hindsight here. I can look back
Yeah.
and say, yeah, splitting at that time probably would, because at that time there was enough people still within the PCUSA that could have saved her. They could have stopped the
Yeah.
rot. Because, and I don't want to
Yeah.
compare it to this, but like it is very similar. What's better, to catch cancer early or to catch cancer late? It's when you catch it early, because you have a hope of fighting it and
Yeah.
winning. If you let it set in and rot, can you recover? There's a chance. It's not great though. So my answer to that would be, I don't know. I think it might have been a bit premature. PCA
I
would
guess
look at that.
what I'm kind of getting at, because I know that's not a very easy question to answer. How do you assess that? Like, what I mean is, how would, if you were in this situation where you're in a denomination, what are the things you're looking for that are like? Because I feel like that's the struggle for all of us. No denomination is perfect.
No.
Right? So like, where's the breaking point? Like, if they were already allowing some liberalism, which they were, how would you have felt about that? Like, what would would you feel like, because already it was probably affecting how they conducted denominational decisions and even certain matters of discipline. It was probably already affecting things back then.
Well, it has to be at an institutional level. So if I look at Northern Ireland and I see that every presbytery is suddenly ordaining women, they're gay affirming, abortion's fine, I can look at that and say, this branch of Presbyterianism is now rotten. It would be cut off, right? And the reason why I say that is, I said this, we had a break there, but I think it was the previous show that we were talking about, the churches in Revelation, and Jesus breaks off certain churches whenever there's rot. Now, does that mean that the entire church dies? No, because it was a branch, and it was a branch that was no longer bearing fruit. So you asked the question, how do you know? For me, well, I shouldn't say for me. I think the biblical answer is, whenever it's at such a widespread institutional level from the top down, where you've got no higher authority to go to and appeal and say, hey, look, this local church, they're doing things against Scripture. The reason why you can't go to a higher authority is because perhaps the higher authority is also saying, yeah, we ordain women, yeah, we have abortion, we have at that stage, that's game over. You're not changing that. Now, move it to, let's say, 34 churches in Northern Ireland suddenly become gay affirm and all that sort of stuff, but the local presbytery in Northern Ireland says, you need to repent or you're no longer in fellowship. That's when a church is still healthy. That's where I remain with the church, because the church is actually fighting back and saying, you can't do that. And if you continue down this route, we are breaking fellowship with you. We're cutting you off. But if it's widespread institutional, you're done.
Yeah.
And I know Zimmer would say, like kind of what you pointed out a while ago. On paper, we still have, all those things are forbidden. But the problem is, on a practical level, it's not forbidden. So your paper means nothing.
I think to try to make it equivalent, that I feel like back then the RSV as a translation would have been considered, like a mainline translation that is acceptable for use. Whereas conservatives back then would have said, no, the RSV is not conservative enough. And that's what's hard. It's like hard to put ourselves in these different time periods. So I think the equivalent of today would be like you're in Presbyterian church, and they by and large are still operating on a more conservative way. Like they're still ordaining men and they're still holding to biblical sexual ethics, but they adopt the NRSV. And that becomes like the widespread translation. Would you break over that?
No.
Okay.
Because
I feel like that's the kind of thing, though, that conservative people, it can really bother them. They can be like, we're going liberal.
It can bother them, but you're in schism at that point if you're breaking over a translation. Because, look, as much as I would hate it. Say my Presbyterian church tomorrow, it came down from the very top presbytery, we're all adopting the Passion Translation. I would bang my head off a wall until I was unconscious. But the problem is, if they continued reading from the Passion Translation, but they kept the gospel pure, there was no LGBT affirming, there was no women pastors, there was none of that. They just
probably the NIV
decided,
would be a more likely scenario.
Well, likely, but I'm showing you how extreme.
How extreme you would take it. Okay.
Yeah, that is such a non-factor. Yeah, it's not conservative in the sense that it's not a conservative Bible translation, but that would not be a reason for schism. Schism would, and again, schism's not even the right word here, because at that stage it's not schism, you're breaking away. It's whenever something would affect church ecclesiology or sacramentology or anything like that. So if they start saying, okay, women can be ordained, okay, now we have a problem, we have to fight that. If we don't fight that and it grows from women in ministry to maybe now you've got gay ministers in ministry, all that sort of thing, you're now at a stage where, you can consider, okay, is this a sinking ship or can we save her? That is something that needs to be decided as a body.
The challenge to me, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was literally just going to say that would not be an individual thing. I don't think you should take that decision yourself and say, I'm going off to start a new church by myself. Come join me if you want. Because at that stage, you are usurping authority.
Yeah, the challenge to me, too, in thinking about all of this and how it actually operates in the real world, because I'm like you. There's aspects of what Zoomer and people that are in his frame of reference are trying to do. Like I think it's admirable on some level, but I kind of wonder. It's what you mentioned earlier about, like, if you're in, to use biblical terms, if you're unequally yoked with people, that is going to have an effect on you.
Of course.
And an effect on how, and that's the other piece of this. It's like, I agree. Like, I think what you just said makes a lot of sense, but sometimes it's subtle. you could have, like, everybody could be doing the conservative, or I shouldn't say conservative, the orthodox biblical thing, but under the surface, there are people who are clearly like veering off, and it starts to affect other people, and they start veering off, and so like that, I think, is the kind of stuff that it's very hard to stay on top of that and to deal with it in a way that, because I guess what I'm saying is those things gain momentum. Take someone like George Gresham Macomb. I don't actually know much about him, but I would imagine stuff was happening that he just had no control over.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, how do you help? Because even if you're like, well, of course, if we could steer the ship, we would. But by that point, more and more people are being affected. That analogy used of cancer, I think, is it spreads, right? It spreads. And that's tough.
It is, but you said it yourself, and Scripture speaks in this. People treat the institution as if the institution can't be corrupt. I have heard Roman Catholics say that, oh, well, if you think the institution can be corrupt. Now, I want to be very clear. Christ's church cannot be destroyed. She cannot be truly overcome. Can local bodies become corrupt? Absolutely. And again, the first rebellion we ever see in Scripture of an institution is Korah. Korah looks at Moses and he's essentially like, yeah, you're not a leader. I'll be the leader. And the people side with Korah. How does God handle that situation? He opens up the earth to swallow them. After he's demonstrated that Moses, Aaron, these are the guys that are chosen. So here's the point. You don't get to just willy-nilly. Like, if I'm sitting, like, Tim, let's say I'm a member of your church. I don't get to sit in your church for like a year and be like, oh, this guy can't preach, blah, 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 blah. I'm just going to start my own church and then poach some of your members. That's schism. That is me actively usurping power and breaking your church into fragments. But let's flip it. Let's say I'm a member of your church and you're bringing in all manners of wild heresies. The preaching's bad. The Eucharist is not even done most weeks. It's just like, no, who cares about that sort of thing? Let's say now it's not just me. It's multiple members of your church being like, this place has gone to the dogs, and I've had words with him. There's no correcting him. Yeah, at that stage, we can separate off and say, look, we're going to our own place, or we're going to another body that's faithful. If you repent, yeah, we could come back.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. In the West, we have this idea. We even do it in salvation. There is an element in which your salvation is individual, but it's not only individual. You cannot and will not make up the body of Christ on your own. It's physically impossible. It's a corporate thing. That's why we meet together. We sing together. We confess together. We pray together. We worship together. All these things. We are a body. So if a body looks at it and it sees, okay, yeah, look, our ministers are going astray. They're not listening to correction. Someone would honestly try and tell me that God would bind people's conscience to stay under ministers that are completely disregarding the word, the sacraments, all this. No, he would say, come out of her, my people. Because here's an analogy, and it goes back to, we can say what Sumer's doing is noble. And in a sense, it is. But whenever you look at it completely, let's say we are out on an open battlefield and you're down to 30 men and there's an army of 10,000 in front of you that want to rip your head off. And there's a fortress behind you that believes everything you believe. They worship the way you worship. And they're saying to you, guys, come into the fortress. And you're going to stand in that field and go, nah, we can take the 30,000. You guys are schismatics. We're not joining with you. That's no longer admirable. That's stupidity. Like, just, it's simple. Like, you can look at that and you can romanticize it and go, oh, that's great. Look at those 30 men trying to take on 30,000. Meanwhile, there's an entire fortress with maybe 40,000 warriors in it that are saying, look, come in with us. And you're going to go, nah, you're schismatic. No, thanks. It's nonsense.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. I'm sure he would see it differently, but
Oh, I know he
I
would,
will
but
I will say, I hope that Redeem Zoomer will just continue to grow. I mean, some of the things that you've had an issue with, I hope the Lord will work on that in his life, and that he'll grow in his character, and I hope that what I said earlier about how we're affected, that's one of my concerns for him, is it's what you said. Like, I get that he's trying to bring back history and Orthodox, but if he's not even clear on certain things himself, and it's partly because he's being influenced by being surrounded by the people he's surrounded by. I mean, that's part of what church does. It shapes us. We're not just individuals coming up with our own. We are shaped by the people we're in communion with and we're in community with. And so, I have a feeling his local church is probably, quite solid, but they're still in communion with the larger entity, which can impact them. And that's, I get why he's frustrated by churches leaving and by people leaving and starting new denominations. But I think it gets back to that principle of being unequally yoked. And I just hope that he will be able, and people with him will be able to get very, clear on these things. And I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty cynical or doubtful. If they really took a stand about certain issues, I feel like they would get kicked out.
well, look, here's all I'll say, because I can't speak to his heart. Like, I don't know what his motives truly are. But
Yeah.
if I'm to trust what Isaiah said, who was very close with Zimmer, treated Zimmer like a mentor, and he was ostracized because he was told that his beliefs were too conservative. I'm not saying that that's what Zimmer believes, but his Discord, that group,
Right.
Presbyterians for the Kingdom, that's
Right.
the consensus with them. That no,
Yeah.
you know what, we're not going to say this publicly, but female ministers and stuff, it's not really a big deal anymore.
Yeah.
It leads me
Yeah.
to at least question, because I've seen Summers posts before where he would make posts and be like, women ordination, it's not ideal, but it's fine or whatever. It kind of leaves me to wonder, has he already been corrupted himself? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's far, I'm sure we've all heard this analogy at one point or another. It is far easier to pull someone off a ladder than it is to pull someone up a ladder. You're fighting an uphill battle. And if you're in an institution that is so corrupted, you will eventually compromise on things because you think you're gaining ground, but what you're doing is you are compromising in areas. And areas where I would say he has compromised is women's ordination, women giving the Eucharist, women doing baptism, all those sorts of things. And look, maybe he will change. I don't know. I seen him mature in a few areas, but I also don't know the guy overly well, and I don't know what his ultimate goal is. Like, I know what he says his public goal is, but it seems like there's some private things behind the scenes that maybe are not aligned with that. So,
Well, hey, I have a feeling, because of the world we live in currently and the online interactions. I mean, I get very frustrated by certain things too. There's a lot that really rubs me the wrong way. And I think it's an unfortunate part. Well, I mean, part of it's just being human, but part of it is the environment that we're in right now. And people are saying and doing things, and it's really off-putting depending on where you're coming from.
yep.
And I get it. Like, I think Zoomer, I get why he can be off-putting. But I will say, for whatever reason, I find other people more off-putting than him a lot of times. So I'm not sure why, though. Like,
Say that again, sorry.
There are other people I find more off-putting than Zoomer.
Yeah.
you know.
But
And
that's true of all of us, though. Like I irritate a
yeah,
lot of people.
right. And I'm not sure why that is.
I know
But
I'm great.
anyway, I know we're going to have to wrap up this conversation. And this has been very much kind of wrapped up in talking about Presbyterian scenarios, but I think it applies to a lot of different churches. And we'll, I'm sure, be talking more on this subject in different ways. But that was all the topics I wanted to cover, and we're about at the 2-hour mark. So I did say we would mention the merch that you had mentioned toward the beginning, and I know.
Yeah, it's not up yet, but it's been approved, so it
Okay.
will be up now by the weekend.
Okay, so maybe next week then we'll follow up with that,
Yep.
and we'll show pictures of the Do Ye Manly shirts and mugs,
Yep.
and yeah.
And
All right.
very sorry, Tony, and I do actually mean this. I know it looks like I'm smirking, but it's just because I know what I'm about to say. Apologies that it's not coming home to England.
What was that?
Football. They lost. They didn't get to the final.
Oh, and they were ahead at one point. Well, we're sorry to end on that sad note.
That's what I'm saying. I actually am being serious.
Yeah.
I know it looks like I'm smirking, but it's more because one of those ones. Do you ever get, where you're like a funeral or something, someone does something, you shouldn't laugh, but you're like, oh goodness, I'm about to laugh.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
I get it. People like their football, and as much as I joke about hating England, it sucks that you guys lost.
I also know, as we were talking here, that there was some discussion about the SBC and that at one time having been influenced by liberalism and veering back in a conservative way. So yeah, there's a lot to discuss, and I appreciate the comments. I'm sorry we didn't necessarily get to all of that toward the end. But like I said, we will talk more about this stuff, and we really appreciate the audience hanging with us and the input that you guys give. And we had people from all over the place, which is cool, and people from different backgrounds, which is awesome.
And if there's guests you want on, go to their YouTube channel and badger them to come on the show.
That's true. Mention our show over here, and also mention it to us, and we'll see if we can work things out.
Yeah, because like you may ask someone and we're like, nah, no thanks.
What if they all start clamoring for Redeem Zoomer? You're
Well,
in trouble.
no, that's fine though, but because like you've said before, you'd be willing to interview him. Like I don't have to be present for that because
Yeah.
I just don't think it would be productive. I think him and I would probably clash, and you wouldn't get the questions that you actually wanted. But like, I think it would be a good interview if you interviewed him, and then a week later, you and I could review that.
I like that idea. That would be cool. Yeah. I'm sure I would disagree with him a lot, but I would at least love the opportunity to really probe. Like how can you think this way about this? Yeah, someone just said coming in late. You want me to pull that up here?
Yeah. I was going to say that that's a good comment, and like I've said
some of RZ's vids, and his attitude in his vids is very different from how he is in live streams. If you've ever caught one, interesting.
Which is what I've said before. Like I don't want people to think I hate the guy. I don't. I really don't. I actually think he's a very intelligent young man. I just think he is immature in a lot of areas, and he can be quite arrogant in certain cases. And now, so can I in some cases, and I need to humble myself. And
reformed people never are arrogant. Never.
See, we're just so brainy. That's what it is. But no, we do have that tendency, but it's because, like I've said before, we're people that are more prone to reading books. We care more about technicalities and how things are worded. And sometimes that comes across like we're just being rude little twerps. And in some cases we are, and we need to be careful of that. But there's never a day that goes by that I don't look at some people and I would maybe look at it and go, oh, you worded that horribly, that falls into whatever, whatever. But I would look at those people and be like, but the way they live out their faith puts me to shame. Like there's a lot of people that live out their faith in a more seeable way. As for me, it's not that I don't bear fruit or anything, but it's more, I think if people were around me, they would say, yeah, he's more prone to, wanting to talk theology and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Well, we're all at different stages and different situations that we're in, even in our lives, and so that all plays into it. But hopefully we're all helping each other, and I think conversations like the ones we have on this program it seems to be helpful. We don't even have a name for our show.
That's what I'm saying. Like we need to come up with.
I think we're a year and a half in. We might just have to let it go and just say we're the no-name show.
I don't know. Like if a good name comes along, there's no reason why we can't update it. Yeah. I mean, like we may never get one, which is fine. But like if a good name does come along, I would be like, yeah. Love you to interview the guys at Selling Jesus. I've never heard of them, but I don't like that name. Now that might be the point. Maybe it's provocative.
Maybe it's trying to be anti-selling Jesus. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The layman perspective.
See, we've it's not a bad name, but it's one that we've had suggested before, but it just feels a little bit too on the nose.
And then everybody will misunderstand it because they'll think I'm not a layman. So but yeah. It's a good suggestion, but we don't want a misunderstanding there.
That's what I'm saying. It's not a bad name, but it's too on the nose because it's just combining their names. But yeah, you're a pastor, I'm not. So
yeah.
Yes, you should. No, don't apologize, brother. It's fine, or sister.
No, it was a good try. Yeah, we have the same challenge. It's
names.
Hard to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's been over a year, and with both vetoed names.
I know what Seeley's going to name this. It's going to be the Beautiful Weirdos.
Yeah, we ain't doing that though. That's her thing for us, fair, but I ain't.
That's what she calls everybody here. Mm-hmm. We like her saying that. New England and Old Ireland.
I mean, it's not the worst, but I don't know if it would communicate.
I'm not sure the New Englanders want me representing. Like, I'm not originally from New England, so.
No, but what I'm saying is, it's not actually a bad name. It's more just the fact that I don't think it would communicate what we do.
What we're doing.
That makes sense, yeah. And yeah, Tony said, yeah, it's provocative. I thought so, but just initially when I heard Selling Jesus, I was like, ooh. They're challenging Bible translation copyright. Okay, that might be a good interview. Then.
My original name that I wanted to call this was Church Matters, but I don't know that.
I think I vetoed that one.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. Maybe you all can veto him.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like it. I think it's just a little bit too on the nose, but I don't know. I might be open to it.
We'll see.
Come up with good names, folks, and we'll submit them to us, and we'll see how we fare.
This is our problem. We just can never come to a consensus. Tim and the Irishman.
There's something somewhere. We will get something. Because then I could also make a graphic for the show as well, because that's what I like doing. So.
I love hearing people's ideas. It's really cool. Mm-hmm. It's just cool to hear.
But that's what I'm saying. Instead of them coming out with it all now, which is fine, they can. Do you actually sit down and think about it? Like there has to be something out there that doesn't sound cheesy and communicates what it is we actually do.
Yeah, if we could just figure out what it is we're doing. Oh yeah, freshly ground. He does. We got to think of something with tea if we're gonna include his drinks. Frisch Irishman.
Maybe something like the Baptist and the Presby.
The Baptist and the Presby.
Yeah, we'll find something. But anyway, folks, I got to get this dog out for a pee here, so we will have to say goodbye to you all, lovely people.
Yes, we'll see you all, Lord willing, next week. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, is it just us again next week?
As of right now, we'll just do kind of continued current events, but there's always a possibility. We've been talking about having Jason. I'm blanking on his last name. My good friend Jason, that I can't think of his name.
I was going to say I never got his last name, so I can't help you.
He goes by it's. Why am I having such a hard time? Because it's his podcast is based on his last name.
It's
And
definitely
like,
not
I think
Borges.
it's
Hang on. I know I'm subscribed to him, so hang on.
WHIT
Jason Whitaker.
Whitaker.
But I don't know what he's. I don't know what he's.
It's because his podcast shortens that, so it's like throwing my brain off really badly. Yeah, thank you, Seeley. Yes, Whitaker. Yeah. So anyway, Jason Whitaker. Man,
If you ever watch this, Jason,
he's going to give me a hard
apologize.
time when he comes on here about not remembering his last name.
Dude,
But
that,
his
that happened
podcast
the other
doesn't
day.
use his whole last name. I don't think it's if he's like shortened it.
It does happen though, but like, believe it or not, this happened to me the other day, and I felt like such a fool because like it's someone that I am genuinely close with, and they were like, "Oh, what do you call your friend?" I'll not name him, but like, "What do you call your friend?" Say Toby again, and I was like, for whatever reason, his last name, and I've known him now for like maybe 4 or 5 years. His name just went out of my brain and into the ether, and I felt like such a terrible person.
Yeah, I can have a really hard time with names, but yeah. So we'll get him on. It might be as early as next week, but I'm hoping pretty soon. He's been covering the preliminary trial stuff for Charlie Kirk's situation. So
Yep.
maybe have him on to talk about that and whatever other stuff is pertinent in his world.
Yeah.
More
Anyway,
Presbyterian stuff. Yeah.
yep.
All right.
Tis, but we gotta
Bye.
go.